1, 2, 3.
What?
You were doing a 5.
Yeah, what the fuck?
Oh, I guess okay. Let me do that again. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Fucker.
Don't even know my own counting.
I had my hands in front of my
done
face
this for like over a year.
I forgot how to clap for a brief moment because I like almost smacked my face. I was like, wait, what?
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the World of Dragons podcast. We have a very special episode today where Ray will rapidly review written words he's recently read, or as I like to call it, Rrrwwrr.
Oh my god.
What?
That was good.
It was pretty good. Rrrwwrr. I have here with me, as always, Dilatan and Bantam.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, Dilatan is here in spirit.
Pretty much. This is not going to be my episode.
No, first off, he hates books. Second off, he is very sleepy. And third, he is frozen solid because how cold is it in Florida right now?
It's currently 33 degrees.
Oh man, it was 14 degrees the other day here.
Well,
yeah, do you want some 14?
No, I'm still freeze in my 30-degree weather, and I got to work outside today. So fuck.
It's so funny because I imagine living in Florida and having to go out and buy a winter coat, and it's just like no place sells them.
Yeah, everybody sells them. Everybody gets cold so easily down here. Believe me, there's a market.
Usually on the show, we discover, review, and discuss dragon-centric media, novels, TV shows, video games, and so on, to help other dragon fans find the next world that they want to lose themselves in. This episode is episode 3 of our mental break series, in the sense that because of how busy the holidays are between work and family, we are just doing some fun episodes where we just kind of get together and talk a bit, rather than having to bother about consuming media, just because we are short on time.
Yeah.
This episode, Ray, who is me, I am Ray, hi. Since I read so much more than these two, I am going to basically go through everything that I have read in the last couple years, relatively fast, like 5-10 minutes at most on some of the bigger series, just because I do so much more. Like, we've reviewed like maybe, I'm guessing 8. I'm going to guess 8 books on the podcast. I've read maybe like 24 other ones, and so it's going to take a while for them to get to my level.
Yeah, so Ray and I, we work together, and the thing is when the tasks that we do are very repetitive and kind of mind-numbing, and I listen to music. I can't listen to an audiobook because like I'm trying to actively pay attention to the audiobook, but like he has crushed multiple books a week. Like that's all he does at work is he listens to audiobooks, and it's just
sometimes I do podcasts. Other times I'll do like D&D podcasts, especially like when we started our Pathfinder game with Abomination Vaults. I listened to a podcast that was playing through that just so I could kind of get a feel for how it's supposed to flow.
Yeah, it's like I'm not. It's a personality difference. Like I need something in the background that I'm not paying attention to, but is comfort food. So for me, that's music. And that way I can focus on my tasks while listening to something that is just essentially background. But I have...
The way that I am, I because of our tasks are very just physical and very brain dead, especially once you've learned it and it just becomes muscle memory at that point, I need something to stimulate my mind while I'm doing it so I can listen to audiobooks and podcasts and stuff.
Yeah. So it's just a difference in personality type, but like he'll occasionally tell me about the books he's reading, and he's like, "Oh, so I'm reading this book, and no spoilers, but and yeah, it's like a lot of the ones that he's we call it scouting. They do sound really interesting. I mean, there's I don't know if we'll ever cover it on this, but they're
because I plan on this running for like 10 years or more, we will eventually get to all of them.
Yeah,
it's just my scouting is figuring out the good ones to get to first.
There's one about a kobold that sounds really interesting to me.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, Dilatan, just so we can keep you part of the episode, what do you listen to while you work? If anything.
Classic rock.
Yeah, what I call biker rock. I usually put that on the truck, but while I'm working, if I'm working in a trailer or doing orders or whatnot, I actually try to stay focused because there's a lot I've got to keep in mind while doing these stores on top of like trying to fill the shelves and then keeping in mind what I got to order for next week. So I cannot be distracted as much as these two because it's not as just muscle memory.
To the storekeepers ever bother you?
His work is a bit more mentally engaging.
Oh, what'd you say, Batum?
Do the storekeepers ever bother you and ask you stupid questions?
Every fucking
when are we
day.
getting more? When are we
do
getting more
customers
Christmas
bother
trees?
you? Do customers bother you thinking that you work at the store?
If I had a fucking dollar for every time that happened, I could buy a new truck. Every goddamn... I'm like, nope, I'm just a little Debbie man.
They're like, what does that mean?
It means I don't work here. Go find someone else.
But you're stocking the shelves.
Listen, I stock one thing on one shelf.
I am assuming most customers don't realize this because I didn't until I started working at our grocery store, and we have vendors like you there.
Yeah.
Before then, I did not know that vendors were a thing.
I didn't
I
either.
thought the store bought everything and the employees stocked it. I didn't realize that there were some companies that would rather hire a single person to just truck it over to every store and do it themselves.
People are wise about that when it comes to the bread, but I think that's like the only thing.
Because bakeries, yeah.
Exactly. So they don't realize like Little Debbie and probably even Coke and Pepsi. Well, Coke and Pepsi, they got their own uniforms. So that's a little more obvious. I'm just
I think
working.
our store has a Lay's vendor. Like
I've
the
got
Lay's
one
company.
I got one too on my route. He's a pretty chill guy. But
vendor pride.
yeah, I just if we stick together, we got a little tight knit group. But I just work in the t-shirts. They just think I'm probably an employee out of uniform.
So yeah, so because of the way we work, I can listen to a whole lot more audiobooks than I can read physical books. I still read physical books, but it's definitely like a 10-to-1 ratio. I just have so much more listening time available to me. So most of the stuff I'm going to go over today is actually going to be available on Audible, so you can also listen to it yourself. But at the end, I will go through the handful of stuff that I have on Kindle. Surprisingly, I think more than half of my Kindle library I read while it was still physical only, and then in the subsequent years has migrated to Audible. So it's gonna be very audio skewed, basically. But yeah, anyway, so to keep them engaged as I go through my really rapid reviews, they're gonna ask me questions to bounce the conversation off of me so that they can. Because if I'm just kind of talking to myself, I'm going to stumble over my own words and get lost. So they're going to help keep me grounded. And then at the end, they're going to pick their favorites of the stuff that I reviewed, and that'll be the next things that we review together as a group on the podcast.
This episode has consequences. God damn it!
Yeah. So Dilettante, you have to pay attention.
You motherfucker!
You son bitch. A very minor spoiler warning for everything. I'm going to try to avoid spoilers the best I can, but something might accidentally slip out. I will do my best to not spoil anything that happens after the first quarter or third of the book, just because I figure the early parts are mostly set up anyway. But again, minor spoiler warnings, because if something happens in book 3 that I really like, it's gonna get mentioned. For example, I'm not gonna mention the name of the book right now. That'll hopefully keep from being spoilers. But there is a book series where at the end of book 2, the character turns into a dragon, and that is kind of a spoiler because end of book 2. But it is such a big deal because it plays such a huge role in book 3, 4, 5 that it's worth mentioning it while I will be reviewing that book series. Before we get further into this, do we have any dragon news? Anything we want to announce to the people?
2 things. One is, I think we mentioned the D&D movie got delayed.
Yeah, we did. I remember that when I was editing.
But I saw a Twitter link where there's going to be a Dragonborn in the movie. No one knows what role if it's going to be a main character or just something.
There's also going to be a Yuan-Ti in a prison, so I saw.
Oh, nice. But they're going back to practical effects for the Dragonborn. They showed the puppet and they showed it like talking, and it looks fucking amazing. Because practical effects will always be better than CG to me because the actors don't like stare past it, or if they're trying to touch it, it's not like awkward. But
I don't know. I still like CGI better. I'm not a big fan of practical effects.
But
I feel like they're a little limiting and or harder to make.
Well, they're harder. They're harder to make, but then once you make them, you don't. That's it. It's over. Like whereas CG, the amount of hours that it takes to make CG, it just keeps getting more expensive.
I guess it depends. CG, I think, is better for the character itself, but practical would be better for the interaction between actors and non-actors. But so it's like I would rather have this entire CGI movie.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
we
we did. We just saw Avatar.
yeah.
So the other dragon related news, which is also about Dragonborns, is some data miners have found in the Baldur's Gate 3 files that there is going to be a Dragonborn race, which is very, very exciting because I really wanted to like Baldur's Gate 3. Comes out August of next year, but I was not excited about playing something human, elf, dwarf, whatever. Fantasy humans. I wanted to play something non-human.
I always refer to them as human plus. If it's basically human but with a small difference, like with elves, taller in ears, dwarves, stout in beards, tieflings, horns, whatever, right? I call them human plus.
Yeah. For me, the only races I'll ever play in D&D, things like the cats and the dragonborn, lizard men, UNT, kobolds. I don't want to play as a human.
It's just less fun. But we're also a very niche group.
We're as niche as it gets.
So as some of you may know, we will be having a World of Warcraft episode coming up. We have finished the campaign, and it's funny because on the subject of human plus stuff and how we are a niche group, there was actually a thread that popped up on Reddit, on the World of Warcraft subreddit, where some people were upset about the Drakthir's being forced into dragon form when they use spells, and they're like, I just wish I could stay in my visage form, which is their human form. And I'm like, fuck you. like how dare you?
Yeah, that's how Charlie plays this game, and I will never forgive him for that.
People found out that
I agree with you, like how the whole point is being a dragon, but the whole point for me is being a dragon. In their defense, it is really weird to lock a class behind a specific race. If they could play Evoker as a blood elf, whatever, they probably would. And if I could play a paladin as a Drakthir, I totally would. So the race locking is pretty dumb. So in their defense, if they could avoid dragons, they would. Whatever.
Yeah, the race lock will probably only be for a while until they work out the kinks. A lot of people were really disappointed that players didn't get to play as Sethrak, which are little adorable snake people. They're basically like snake kobolds. But
there's factions that are upset about any race in the game. People want Tuskar still.
Yeah, and apparently the reason why Blizzard didn't allow them to play those is because they didn't want to deal with the transmog system, making all the armor across 18 years fit on them. But with the Drakthir, they just solved that by making it only shoulders and belts show up.
I mean, solved in quotation marks, the amount of violent feedback they're getting. Yeah, they may never do it again.
No.
It's just very sad.
Yeah.
Transmogs aren't important, people. Get over it.
Yeah, they're really not.
I know it's a big deal for a lot of people, and whatever. It's fun when it's available, but if I lose it, I don't really mind that much. In Final Fantasy, we should really save this for the World of Warcraft episode, but I guess just real fast, in Final Fantasy, I transmog the shit out of my people. But the second I lost the ability to use hats on the Hrothgar, oh well, not a big deal. I adapted. Whatever. Well, we will rant more about MMOs later, okay? I already don't know how long this is going to go, considering the length of my book library, but we'll find out. Anything else to touch on before we dive into it?
Not that I can think of.
Dillerman?
Nope.
I have the sneaking suspicion he's playing a game to keep himself awake.
I'm actually just watching my backgrounds.
Your background moves?
Yeah,
I got wallpaper.
He got the wallpaper engine.
I'm the one that introduced you both to the wallpaper.
Well, no, you
engine.
weren't. I bought it. I looked at it. I bought it a long ass time ago, but I never ran it. I never even turned it on. I bought it, never even installed it, and when Dilettante showed me that he has the Command and Conquer
the shell maps, I got it for Generals and Zero Hour playing on my desktop right now.
Yeah,
on each monitor.
And so I have the music video for Res Menace playing on mine.
Yeah, I have a animation of Blythe that I'll put up eventually, but I just haven't been bothered. But it's on my to-do list. Anyway, if there's nothing else to mention, we'll go into it. Ray rapidly reviewing recently read works of something. Oh, fucking, I already forgot what I said at the beginning. Ray rapidly reviewing written words recently read. There we go.
Rrrwwrr. It is good. It's good.
Yeah. So yeah, I with the best dorks. I would say it's mostly audiobooks, whatever. That's fine. This is going to be basically everything that I have read over the last 5 years, mostly 5ish, maybe 4.5, because that's kind of when I got the job that allowed me to have a whole lot of consumption time. Let's call it. I also tend to reread things a lot. Like, for example, Age of Fire, I've reread 3 times. Wings of Fire, I've reread like 5 times the entire series. Because I reread things a lot, this list may be smaller than you expect for 4.5 years, so cut me some slack, people. Go ahead, email me. Let me know how big your list is.
Also, I feel like
baiting people into emailing.
Also, I feel like Ray would have read more if not for me, because I'm constantly like, no, let's.
Oh my! The amount of times I have to pause my stuff, and I look at him like, yeah.
Oh yeah. So constantly at work, I'll like just look over at him and say something, and then he'll look over at me, and then he'll like borderline roll his eyes, and then he'll reach up and turn off his earbuds, and he's like, "What?" And I'm like, blah blah blah, stupid funny thing, and he's like, okay, and then he'll turn it back on, and then I'll have a second thought about that funny thing, and he's just
here's the thing, I enjoy talking with you. What always makes me roll my eyes is I'll pause something, we'll talk, and then we'll finish talking. I'll wait 5 minutes in case it continues. It's not continuing, so it's safe to start again. I'll hit play, and that's when you want to talk again.
It's fucking timing.
That's what causes the eye rolls. It's the timing. But yeah, anyway, so I got my Audible list. I have it sorted by date, so we're going to start on the beginning of my return to reading. First things I have on here are the Jungle books, because they're fun. Not going to go over them because there's no dragons, but it's worth mentioning because you can just kind of look inside to my soul to see what kind of stuff I read about. Ooh.
Yeah, don't get him started about the movies.
No, we're going to have a Jungle Book episode eventually just so I can destroy the movies. Jesus. Next, I have the Wings of Fire, the 17-book series. That was actually the very first dragon POV book I ever read. So even though it is not very well written, and Tui has done some very questionable things later on the series, it being my first real dragon book, and the first that I got into after my return to reading, it will always be special for me. I think when I got into the series, it was only like 12 books deep. I think the 12th book was like the most recent one. So I've kind of been enjoying the recent releases with everybody else. But yeah, it is written for kids, even though some of its material is a little dark. The language used is definitely meant for kids, so it kind of makes you roll your eyes at a couple passages every now and then. But
I was rolling my eyes the first 3 books while simultaneously cringing at the teeth pulling and the weird suicide in the first book. And me and Bantam both collectively went, how is this for kids?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I managed to get them to read the first 5 books, and eventually we'll do more, and we'll have a proper episode on this. But for people who are put off by the fact that it is sold in the children's section of Barnes & Nobles, it's still enjoyable. You can kind of get over it. It's not like super dumbed down like what's like a super little kid's book. The Magic Tree House? Is that what it's called?
The Magic Tree House series of books. Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, whatever. It's decent. You can still enjoy it if you can handle a couple eye-rolly parts. It is a series where most of the main characters are all dragons. The humans have become a big deal recently, and that's one of the things I don't like with the direction it's going. But yeah, overall, very fun. 17-book series because there are 18-book series because there are 15 main series divided into 3 arcs, each arc being a storyline that cycles around a given prophecy. Then there's 2 Legends books, which are really chunky beasts of a book compared to the main series books that deal with like a side character or something. And then there's a collection of 4 short stories that were also released. So 18 books.
18 books of hell.
Darkstalker, which is one of the Legends books, one of the standalones, is the greatest thing in the universe. You technically don't need to read anything else to enjoy Darkstalker because it takes place 2,000, I think, years in the past. There might be a couple terms that the book assumes you know, like they assume you know what the heck a Nightwing is without having to spell it out for you. But other than that, like as far as the story goes, it's great.
I this is going to be the most controversial take to a book lover from a non-book lover, but I can't stand multi-book series. I wish, because like I don't like waiting for things. I don't like waiting for TV shows to finish. I'll wait for a TV show to completely finish and end before I start watching it because I have no patience. I don't want to know where this thread is going, only for the next book to come out and the author has forgotten the thread or has decided that's going to be a thread for the finale, and I got to wait 4 or 5 years. I hate it. And
I love series because when I enjoy something, I just want more of it. There's another series that I'll get to later on where they did, I swear to God, like 1,000-year jump after 6 books. So the 7th book is in the same world, but it's 1,000 years in the future. So all the people that I knew and loved are dead and gone. And it breaks my heart because I wanted more of what I had.
So I sympathize with that point and I agree. But I think the better alternative is book series that take place in the same world but with different characters and different stories. Like each book is its own self-contained story, but it takes place with the same parameters. For example, the Dragonlance novels, or
yeah, the problem with that is you fall in love with the Minotaurs or you fall in love with the Draconians, and then it turns out that the next 25 books she wants to write have to do with the fucking elves.
That's true.
Yeah. Next on my list of books that I have read, the Age of Fire series, Dragon Champion, Avenger, Outcast, which we have reviewed together, so I won't go much into that. You can check out our previous episode if you really want to hear our in-depth thoughts. Again, I'm just reading these as I go. Where the heck is my next page button? Oh, there it is. Thank you. Dragon Friend is the next one. Dragon Friend is the name of the first book as well as the name of the series, apparently. Okay. This is a series that I got to like book 4 or 5, I can't remember, but then I stopped reading. I did not desire to finish it because it went downhill so fast, it was not worth continuing on for me. It was too painful, and it made me very angry, and Jesus Christ.
The inventor in our chat says, "Oh God, not Dragon Friend." It's so ridiculous.
Yeah, he knows. It is by Mark Secchia. Yes, I should be saying the author's name in case there's like a very similarly titled book. Dragon Friend by Mark Secchia. It is the story that follows a girl, a princess. There's some political stuff that happens. She gets briefly outcasted, and then she meets a couple dragons. A very small one that they call a dragonling, I think is what they call that species. Or dragonet. They call the species dragonet. And then a very, very large true dragon that she ends up falling in love with. The story kind of continues between them two. There's some... You have your generic romantic whatever, where like, oh, now they're mad at each other, and now they're together again, and now one's in danger, and whatever, right? That's all fine. Book 1 is pretty good standalone if you just read book 1 and then stop. It's a very nice little bow that gets tied to the end of that. You could stop there. Book 2 is also pretty good, but that's kind of when it's getting very questionable. I don't want to go exactly into why I hated book 3 plus. Just because I don't want to spoil it for anybody if they want to go on the adventure. If you really want to know, I will spoil it for you in private if you either email the show or join the Discord and ask in one of the group chats there, or me privately on Discord or whatever. But I'm not going to do that here, all right? Just know it starts great, gets really weird, and then just falls off a cliff, and I did not think it was worth finishing. Dragon Mastery Daybreak by Garrett Boggs. This was the very first lit RPG that I ever read. It is not an isekai, and it is not a video game. It is literally just a fantasy world that follows the laws of a video game, to where the people in the world have stats, they have levels, they can see their character sheet, and we'll call it the system, even though it's not a game, will give them quests. And there's actually a really funny point towards the end of the game the end of the book, sorry, where the character doesn't know really what to do, and then the game, oh my god, game. It's game logic, so I keep thinking game. And then the system gives him a quest, and he has like Eureka, because it's like it spoiled what he's supposed to do for him. It like pointed him in the direction to
Well,
go.
in context, saying it's a game is probably fine.
Yeah. There is a dragon companion he gets. This was like 4 years ago I read this. I think the class he goes into is like a Beastmaster subclass, where he ends up getting a dragon as his pet/companion, and eventually it starts talking to him, and so it actually becomes a character that they kind of play off each other. Out of all the lit RPGs I've read, it is probably one of the more childish ones. Like, I don't know what the age group is written for, but it definitely, like, its writing style is definitely much more silly. All right, next book I have is called Dragon Seed Alchemy Online. This Alchemy Online is the series, and it's by James Osiris Baldwin. I guess really fast, Dragon Mastery Daybreak, as far as I know, single book series, no continuations. It's one and done. But yeah, Dragon Seed Alchemy Online
Places a vote for that one.
is another lit RPG. This one is a person in the real world gets uploaded permanently into the video game. His body is dead and his mind now lives in the game forever. He then goes on adventures in this new world trying to make it his new home. He becomes a dragon knight class, so he gets a dragon companion that he eventually talks to, but he doesn't get the dragon until the end of the first book. So I guess that's a minor spoiler, but since people come to us for dragon media, I feel like I have to say that doesn't happen until the end of the first book. I have really liked this series. I think I'm still waiting for like the fourth book to come out. I can't remember where I left off on that, but it's pretty good. I like it. Not really much to say. It's pretty, I guess to me it's generic because it's one of the first ones I read, so it became the baseline.
So for me, the very first dragon book that I think I ever read, dragon centric anyway, were the Choose Your Own Adventure D&D books from way back in the day, which I actually still physically have all of them, because almost every book featured a dragon of some kind doing something.
Mm-hmm. I remember being very disappointed in the Dragon Seed book because when he's making his character, he like completely like looks over like the lizardman race and the catfolk race, and he's like, I'm gonna be this like Highlander human. I'm like,
yeah,
missed opportunity.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess there's nothing really to say about that without spoiling stuff. But it's pretty good. It's a lit RPG, and it's pretty normal as far as they go. Next, gonna skip that one. That has no dragons in it. I guess I'll just mention the names again so you can take a look into my soul. Into the Light Axe Druid, I did not finish it. I just didn't like the writing style. Caverns and Creatures, I've read the first 4 books. There are no dragons in it, but it's worth mentioning because it's pretty good, but it is raunchy as heck. Your cliche D&D players where everyone's trying to bang everything, or there's like language all over the place, or like murder hoboing. The book deals with that, so there's a lot of that happening. But the general plot line is this group of really terrible players. I would not want to DM for them. Really terrible players. They hire a DM online, and the DM, for some reason, has the power to put them into his game world, and he traps them in there because they're a bunch of assholes, and he wants to fuck with them.
That's actually really cool.
But then they... I'm trying to remember at what point this happens in the book, so I don't know if it's spoiler or not. They managed to almost kill the DM, so he can no longer take them out of the world, so now they're trapped in it. And they can only get out if they like reach level 20 and find some ancient artifacts, because the DM is no longer able to pull them out of the world for whatever reason. But yeah, so they're trapped in a D&D world, so they have classes, stat sheets and all that, and it gets pretty raunchy. I guess an example of how raunchy it can get. So minus spoilers, I think it's in book 2. I can't remember. I have the first 4 books as one giant audiobook, so I don't know at what point this happens exactly. But there is a vampire, and they want to kill him. And in order, they get invited to a dinner party, and so they need a wooden stake to be able to take him out. And they sneak the wooden stake into the dinner party, by carving it into the shape of a dildo with a spike on one end and shoving it up the orc's ass.
Wow, yeah.
As one does, yes.
Yeah, as one does. But yeah, that's an example of like the kind of humor that it's going for. Next, we have The Child of the Daystar from the Wings of War series by Bryce O'Connor. This is a fantasy story where the main character is like a dragon man, a lizard man with wings. I think he's a lizard man because he's the only one of his race who has wings. So I think he's specifically like a lizard man. It's really hard to stick into a genre because I've read the first 3, I think, and each one of the books he travels to a different land and does a different thing. Like the first one is in the desert and has to deal with a black market underground shenanigans. And then the second one he goes, I can't remember, it's been so long. The second or the third one he goes to like a Viking tribe in the north and does arena shenanigans. It's the arena arc that I always tease Bantam with.
Oh god. Every time I love a D&D character, he's like, no, I'm going to have him captured and thrown in the arena.
Yeah, it's traditional fantasy, meaning it's not a lit RPG. It's worth pointing that out. It's really, it's kind of one of the overpowered protagonist type of stories where he himself is very powerful and more powerful than everyone around him. And so because of that, they raise the stakes by targeting people he cares about. And so that's kind of where all the drama comes from.
I mean, that's effective. It's something that angers me in video games, movies,
Yeah.
Pretty much everything.
The thing is, it can be really effective. I know it'll give some people like anxiety attacks, so it's worth mentioning that that's how they try to get at him, right? So like you like telling the story of your uncle putting your brother into the game to fuck with you. So if people have like anxieties like that or any sort of PTSD like that, it might bother them. I don't know.
Yeah, it's the trope that I don't like, but is very effective, and I hate that it's effective. It's like, okay, the main character is such a badass, we can't possibly reduce how badass he is by having him be captured or killed. So what do? We take away the things he loves and force him to, like, I always wonder why the bad guy doesn't just go attack the good guy, and it's like, because the good guy's so badass. So instead the bad guy's going to be holed up in his little fortress with the guy's kids or his wife or whatever, and it pisses me off. I hate it.
I mean, I like overpowered protagonist stories. That I love that kind of power fantasy, and so I acknowledge that in order for there to be stakes, you have to target those kind of things. So I'm okay with it. I liked it. The main character's name is Raz Isul. I think Raz Isul Aros, I believe is what it is. I might be pronouncing it wrong. I love him. Like, I love him so much that I based the villain from our first D&D game off of him. If you remember, I called the species Etherian. That's because that's what his species is called.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. The next book on my list is, I'm not going to be able to say this word, The Whirl. I think it's called The Whirl. From the Earth Dragons series by Chris D. Lacey. This is technically a children's book. I believe it's sold in the children's section at Barnes & Noble. That may or may not matter. This book has 2 points of POVs. One is the dragon and one is a little boy. The general idea is these dragons are able to travel from planet to planet by basically teleporting. They call it a flare star or a fire star, I think, which I imagined is they open a portal in space that looks like a star and then they go through it, and it's basically wormhole travel like that. That's how I imagined it. So they are invaders on this planet. It's called Earth without an E. It's ERTH. They're invaders. They set up a camp and they're getting ready to colonize it, basically. And so the humans are like, they can't fight back because they're dragons, but they're kind of just like dealing with the fallout from that. And there's a little kid that ends up becoming friends with one of the dragons who has to like clear his name because he got framed by something else. So there's like some teaming up there, I think, if I remember correctly. I've only read the first book. It is a multiple book series. I don't know where it goes, but it was pretty enjoyable, if a little childish. It's definitely more childish than like Wings of Fire, which they both shared like the kids' book tag.
Hearing that premise, I got mating flight PTSD.
Oh, just traveling to different worlds.
Yes.
Mating flight was good. You shot.
No, I'll take your word on that.
I have purchased The White Dragon, which is a Dragon Riders of Pern book by Anne McCaffrey. I have not read it yet because Dragon Riders of Pern does not interest me that much, even because for the most part the dragons, as I understand, don't play a really big role. They're kind of just there. And it's definitely a very old book style where the writing styles have changed over time. I bought it because I'm like, I should read a Pern book eventually because it's like the grandfathers of all Dragon Rider books, kind of like how Lord of the Rings was the grandfather of all fantasy, right? So it's like, eventually I'll get to it, but I haven't yet because it's like, I'm just not looking forward to it. It did not age well. Next up, I have the Black Griffin, which is the first book of the Mage Wars series. I have the Black, the White, and the Silver Griffin. I actually own these physical books too because I love them that much, and I have read them like 5 times. It is one of the main characters. It's a split POV again between a human and a griffin. And I just love it. I don't usually read a lot of Griffin stuff because I am more of a dragon purist. I have noticed a lot of people that like dragons also tend to like Griffins. They kind of go hand in hand, and I don't exactly understand why. But hey, Griffin book. It's pretty good. Sadly, it's the only ones that this author is ever going to do because she has like 100 and something books in her world, and these 3 particular take place like 10,000 years in the past, so we're probably never going to go back to the past again. Very sad. But there's a war between mages. The Griffin Scandranin serves in the military, so he goes on like special op missions because he's like the best of the best. He's the best Griffin there is. He gets so many merits because of how good he is. And yeah, I enjoyed for the world building. There's a lot of, I want to say, culture bits that come out, like Griffin culture and human culture, whatever. I felt like the world building was pretty good. Let's just go with that.
Yeah, do the Griffins act like Griffins, or do they like? Because for me,
I mean, what does a griffin act like?
well, like a bird. Like I would feel like a griffin would have more bird tendencies, but the few things that I've read with griffins in it, the griffins are just basically big birdie dogs.
It's mostly Scandran you see, though there is another griffin that he ends up getting really close with that you never see from her point of view, but you see how she acts. She acts a bit more bird-like because she was like not raised around people very much, so she has a couple of her old habits still. Scandranin is smarter than most humans, and he is regal as fuck. He's kind of almost an asshole because of just how proud and vain he is. But they are intelligent. They don't act like animals. There are a couple of bird qualities. Like I think they mentioned they preen at some point, and I think they screech every now and then. But I can't remember like specific examples. It's been a while since I've reread this, and so I should go back into it again pretty soon. But it definitely did not feel like a human in griffin suit kind of deal.
Okay.
But it was not nearly as alien as like the dragons from Mating Flight or anything. Or even the dragons from Tooth and Claw.
That's good.
Next on my list is Vancouver the Dragon, which we have done on the show before.
10 out of 10, best.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Doom Brigade and Draconian Measures, which is book 1 and book 2. They are from Dragonlance by Margaret Weiss and Don Perrin. It is it's a duo, where the main characters are Draconians, which are dragon men, dragon people, anthro, bipedal, whatever you want to call them, who were born from a magical ritual on metallic dragon eggs, corrupting the unhatched dragons inside to be these like 8-foot tall monstrosities or whatever. And the story kind of just follows them basically finding their place in the world because they were hatched to be shock troops for a war that has ended. And so this is just a group of them that are trying to find a place in the world. The story opens up with them having built a little fort town, like really close to some dwarves, that they do kind of pseudo-friendly raids on. It's like they won't trade, so instead they'll raid and they'll steal from each other, but they steal stuff that's like okay to steal.
So
It's pretty weird.
So maybe because like they just feel like it's weak or pathetic to trade, so they
No, it's generally because they don't like each other. And like I'm not going to say exactly what happens, but later on in the book, something very bad happens that proves they don't like each other, and shit goes downhill.
Okay.
But yeah, it's pretty good. King, who is he's the main character. I think he's the only point of view you get in the first book. The second book jumps around a little bit. I love him, and I want to see more of him. And it's an example of like, as much as I like the Dragonlance universe, I don't care about the elves and the dwarves and stuff. Give me more of the Minotaurs and the Draconians, please.
Yeah, too many books focus on stuff that we already have seen to death, to the point where the moment a book mentions elves and how the elves are like one with nature, really good with bows, and it's like, yeah. Oh, the dwarves, they live in the mines and they're miners and they have beards. Yeah. Fucking heard it 1,000 goddamn times before. Can you please give me something that is not the same shit I've heard? God, I fucking hate human plus.
It's like it's weird because like I understand that some people like really like elves and dwarves and whatnot.
Everything's done it to death though.
A little bit. There have been a couple of things that have done it like really interestingly. Like this is a unique take on it. I actually enjoy this kind of deal. But obviously we just want our dragons because that's why we're here.
I mean dragons are, and literally anything that isn't human plus. I mean, the reason I was intrigued by you telling me about that kobold story is because the whole game, the main character is a kobold.
Yeah, the whole book, not game.
Yeah, book.
Yeah, just so we don't confuse our listeners. To respond to Nihimus, Age of Fire, kind of, for the most part, is pretty standard, though the dwarves that you deal with, like there are definitely some generic dwarves, but the ones you deal with in the Age of Fire book are more like traders, it's at least not as generic as you can get. It's at least an interesting take on them because they were traders. The elves you don't really get a good look at, but what I liked about the elves was the fact that they literally turn into plants when they die. They literally become trees.
Counterpoint to the to what you just said. No, one faction of the dwarves are traders. The rest of them are still.
Yeah, that's what I said. There's generic dwarves, but the ones that you deal with in the book for the most part.
I mean, he dealt with the ones that captured him, which were underground miners and craftsmen, just like every other
I guess
dwarf in history.
To define what I mean by deal with, I mean you get more than just a few paragraphs. Like he actually interacts with them for multiple chapters. They were very generic, but there was an interesting enough twist on them that I was kind of okay with it. But of course, I was mostly okay with it because it was still a dragon POV. I'm okay with dragons interacting with all these generic races because I like seeing the interactions between the species. What I don't like is when the book is 100% about the human, the dwarf, the elf. All right, continuing on with my list, The Dragon and the George, from the Dragon Knight series by Gordon R. Dixon. I have only read the first book of the series. I started the second, but I didn't really get deep into it, not because it was bad, but just because my interest was dragged somewhere else. I can't remember what came out at the time, but I was pulled away and just have not gone back. It's pretty mediocre, but it's enjoyable. It is a human that gets pulled into a magical world with dragons, elves, all that good stuff. But when he gets pulled into it, he body swaps with a dragon, so he's in a dragon's body, and finds out later that the human was in his body for a bit, I think, if I remember correctly. So human in a dragon body, and kind of just has to interact with the world that way. It's pretty fun. But being literally human in a dragon suit, it's a little lacking on the dragon flavor sometimes, though it is kind of fun to just see how a person reacts to being in a dragon body. It's because it's not done very often, it's a fun enough experience to enjoy. I remember being very confused about the actual like big bad. Maybe I just read it too fast, or I wasn't paying attention, or something, but it got a little wonky. Like, I don't remember exactly. Again, this is probably like 4 or 3 years ago at this point, but like he was built up to be such this really big evil wizard that's super powerful, and then like the final battle was almost hand waved away or something. I can't remember exactly. I just remember the ending was not very satisfying. Tooth and Claw is next on my list. We've done that on the show before, but A+, amazing book. Fuck you, Benton.
Court case with dragons. What if court case, but everyone's a dragon?
I
guess
would
just-
kill for a Law and Order with dragons.
Oh my god, that'd be pretty fun.
That would be amazing. Just think of all the dragon crimes.
I guess just a quick 2 sentences for people who don't want to dig back to, I think, our second episode ever.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, it's a Victoria setting with dragons, all dragons, 100% dragons, but being Victorian setting, there's a lot of politics and nobility stuff and law and church and religion and stuff.
Proper etiquette and
There is one chapter that is completely 100% all about going to buy hats because hats are the fashion.
I fucking hate it.
I love it though. I love slice of life world building stuff, and so that entire book, that's all it was, really, honestly. Next up, Knight's Fire. We did that on the show. It's an erotic. An erotic book.
Yeah, that was the book that Diletan didn't read, and I remember
there were 2 sex scenes in the book, and both of them like, what the fuck?
They came out of fucking like the book was relatively well written. I will say that.
I liked the world, but the sex scenes themselves were terrible.
The sex scenes were cringe, gross, and kind of creepy, and they came out of fucking nowhere.
Again, I think we did that as like episode 5 or 6. It was pretty early on in the podcast life, so go check it out.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun with that one because I was preparing to just be like, yeah, this book was terrible, move on. But it was fun ripping it apart.
Yeah, it was. And it's good to do some bad books every now and then. Next up, oh boy, this one. Human Omega from the Pike series by Eileen Glass. This is an example of a book that I read the physical copy first, and then later on it became an audiobook, and so I got it a second time. So I own this book in 2 different formats. It is another erotic story. There are tons of sex scenes, like holy shit, okay. But they were actually pretty well done. I still find myself wanting to skip them every now and then because I've reread it several times and it's like, yeah, give me back to the story. But they're actually pretty well written, so then it's not cringe, don't worry about that. I have read a good handful of erotic books. This is my favorite. I love this series. It is so good. There are no dragons in it, but there are aliens, which are kind of cat-like with quills on the back in like a stripe pattern, and they're described as like tabby with like very, very mild stripes. They have tails. Their face is described as flat though, but I don't know if that's because you compare a cat to a dog. A cat's face is kind of flat comparatively. In my brain, I just imagine them as Hrothgar, honestly. It's great. The storyline is a human from like the Earth Federation. So there's space travel, so it's a bit in the future. So a human is taken prisoner by a bunch of bug aliens and brought to a slave planet to work there, where he meets 2 of these cat aliens who are partners. They're together. And they kind of pseudo-adopt him into their relationship. It's a polyamory thing. And they have to escape from the slaves, and they have to find a place to be safe, and that's kind of most of the drama for the first book and a half. One really cool thing about the book that makes me love it so much is the aliens are like...
Are they
100% gay? There's like they're all males, kind of.
Were the cat things also slaves?
Oh, yes, they were slaves at the time. They're all males, kinda, and I say kinda because they all have dicks, but like 1 in every 100 of them, that's kind of like the ratio that exists because of reasons I can't remember exactly, is able to give birth because they have the inner workings to do that, which I gender is a really touchy subject, but I feel like that technically means you're technically not fully male anymore. But they still have the dicks.
Hermaphrodite at that point.
But the thing is, they don't have a vagina, so I think it's an ass baby.
Okay, weird question. You're gonna be like, "What the fuck, Dylan Tim?" There's a reason for this. Do the cats having sex power the spaceships?
That was a really weird, specific question.
No.
Okay, I'm thinking of a different story. Carry on.
You've read something similar then, I guess.
No, my ex did. They like completely like
Changed his fucking personality.
entire personality around that book.
Yeah, I hate when people do that.
But yeah, the point is, I love it. It's a pretty decent world building. I love the alien species, and the author is really good at like having different characters interact with each other. The point of view jumps around between the three of them in the first book, and in the second book, there's a fourth character that they start jumping between very kind of sparingly. But yeah, it's just really good. I don't want to accidentally spoil something by saying more about it. Just understand that I loved it and it's one of my favorites. Like, if there were dragons in it, these two would have read it by now. But the fact that they're just aliens and not dragons means it's kind of been on the back burner. But maybe I'll be like, fuck it, we're reading it for Valentine's Day.
I mean, you said bug aliens, so I'm already hooked.
Yeah, and yeah.
The bug aliens are the bad guys,
Yeah,
though.
It doesn't matter.
Ray.
You're the one who likes villains.
Yeah, seriously. You could feel free to cut this out, Ray. But I don't know what your list is like. Are you going to talk about the one where people are bought by? You said that there was like a book where someone got bought by a dragon, someone got bought by a naga, someone got bought by a kraken.
Oh no, I'll get to that. That was a. Oh no, that's an audiobook, so that'll be on this list.
Okay,
I'll get to that. The next actual book is Chrysalis, parentheses, a fantasy lit RPG. Beast Realms Book 1 is from the Beast Realms series. The parentheses is an example of people on Amazon need to put their genre into their title because that's how you help people find your book. It's a really bad trend, and it's not going to change until Amazon does its tagging better, I think, but it's very sad. It's by R.P. Jones. It is, like it says in the title, a lit RPG. If I remember correctly, it's a video game that he can log in and log out of at will. But you only ever see his point of view when he's logged into the game, I think. But he references the outside world. But I could be wrong, and we could see some outside world stuff. I know he ends up making friends with someone in the game who he also ends up knowing in real life. But I can't remember if they just like reference like, hey, do you want to go do X and then log out, and then next time we see them they're logged in, or if we actually get to see the coffee shop scene. I can't remember. If there's any out-of-game stuff, it's very, very little to where that's why I can't remember if it shows it or not. But he plays as a lizard man, which is close enough to dragon, I guess. If I'm going to say elves and dwarves are close enough to human, then lizard man's close enough to dragon. I don't remember the big major plot line, the big major story, the whole point of the book. I can't remember that. I was just along for the ride because I was just having fun with it. Pretty good as far as lit RPGs go. I don't know what else to say about that because I can't remember a lot of details. So I guess it's a little sad that it's that forgettable, but the point is I enjoyed it when I read it. But I've only read it once. It wasn't good enough to reread multiple times, I guess. So take that as you will. Next up is A Snake's Life by Kenneth Arendt.
Yay!
This is a 3+ book series. The fourth one exists in print, but not on audiobook yet. And I haven't read the fourth one, so I don't know if that's going to be the last one or not. This is a book where the main character starts out as a snake, but eventually becomes a, quote, snake dragon. It is an evolution-style lit RPG where he starts out as one thing, and as his stats increases different levels, and as he accomplishes different objectives and feats and whatnot, he can evolve to the next highest life form.
Is that the one? Is that the one that we started where he?
I made you start it, but we didn't finish it.
He like had to eat X amount of rocks to unlock a trait.
Yes, like to start out, he starts as like a teeny tiny little snake, and it's like your evolution options are eat a bunch of plants to become this snake, eat a bunch of rocks to become this snake, eat a bunch of meat to become this snake. But if you do all three, you get to be this.
Yeah,
snake.
and he's like, "Well, fuck it, I'm gonna go with all three." Which fair? That's exactly what I would do.
That is a recurring theme where he tends to hit all the check marks, so it gets a little repetitive in that sense. But again, snakes are my favorite real life currently existing animal, so I loved this thing. I've had one of my friends tell me that they didn't like it, and I can't remember the reasons why. Something about the writing style. But I just remember not agreeing with them. So maybe I'm just brainwashed. Who knows? It is another example of a overpowered protagonist story,
Like,
where he ends up being like, he has to struggle early on, but then he ends up getting to the point where he's like disgustingly powerful, and he actually gets to the point where he accidentally can wipe people out if he's not careful. And so a lot of the drama of some of the later series is him trying to learn to control basically this curse that he was given and stuff. Still, I loved it. It is actually the best example of a book that handles time jumps that I've seen, where I'm trying to think of a bad example, but like people will be like, "Oh, here's a book." I can't think of any other examples. There's some time jumps. When he evolves, he goes into a cocoon, and like the first time he evolves, it's only like a day, and then it's a week, and then it's a month, and then it's 10 years, and then there's another point where he ends up being in like a time diluted area, so he spends 1,000 years in there or whatever. So there's some really weird time jumps. But I feel like it handled them the best, and I can't think of a bad example to compare it against. But the point is, I like how they did the time jumps. Queen in the Mud by Mari, I did not finish. It was just kind of boring. I don't think I got to the reveal of what the main plot line or the big bad or whatever is going to be, because it took like 3 or 4 hours to get to the point where I gave up, so it moves really slow. But it is another lit RPG. Person died in the real world and is reborn in this one, and they're reborn as a little newt, a little gecko. Dilettante.
I love it.
But yeah, I don't really have much to say about that because I only got like 3 hours in and then had to put it down. I'll try to finish it at some point, but there's a lot of other stuff that is like sparked my interest, so eventually. But it moved really slow. I think the problem was she is alone. She's got no one to talk to, and so it's a lot of inner dialogue, and that just she's got no one to bounce off of. Next up is Call Me Dragon by Mark Secchia, the guy who did Dragon Friend, the one series that I got so angry at and put down and couldn't finish. I'm giving him a second chance with this book, Call Me Dragon. I only know of 2 books, but I've only read the first one. If there's a third one right now, I don't know. I liked the first one. I liked Call Me Dragon. I have not read the second, but I'm surprised. I liked it. However, with Dragon Friend, I liked the first couple, so we'll see if he ends up breaking my heart a second time. But this is a dragon that reminds me a lot about Dilettante, because he is pathetic as far as dragons go. He's very artsy. He doesn't like fighting or raiding or any of that stuff.
What the fuck?
And so his family keeps making fun of him. He tries to steal a princess to shut them up and prove he is a real dragon, I think is how that goes down. But he ends up becoming very good friends with this girl. She likes being kidnapped because she was engaged to somebody she didn't want to be engaged to, I think is what it was. I can't remember. And so they become friends, and they go on adventures, and they do things.
Way to single me out, man.
I mean, I want to make you read it just because it reminds me so much of you. And you need to tell me if, like, I'm just being a dick to you, or if you're like, yeah, I can kind of see that. Because, like, the thing is, like, one of the things is he can't breathe fire, and you say that you don't like breathing fire.
Yeah, it's a stupid trope.
But, like, that's one of the things that makes me, like, think of you. But whatever. All right, next up on my list, Lazy Scales. Hey, clap, 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 clap. We've done that on the show. We've even interviewed the author. Go check those episodes out. Probably, if not my favorite, it is tied for some of my favorite Dragon POV books out there. It loses a couple points because of Becca, but otherwise pretty good. It does get pretty gory at some points, but personally I loved it. I don't know why, but I loved it. Next up on the list is Tesser, A Dragon Among Us, from the Re-Emergent series by Chris Philbrook. Wait, sorry, I heard a big inhale like you were about to say something.
I actually leaned up in my chair.
Oh, he's interested. This is a book where there's only 6 ? I don't remember the exact number. There's only 6 dragons that exist at all completely in the world. Because they are like fundamental forces. Like one is the dragon of life, another one is the dragon of death, obviously, and the dragon of fire, the dragon of the earth, dragon of the wind, and all that, right? Fundamental forces. Very powerful. They've been sleeping, hiding, and or missing for many thousands of years and have just started to come back. And so modern day world where a dragon who can shapeshift, it is kind of a shifter book. He spends, I think, 90% of his time in human form. So boo on that. We generally do not like shifters, but this one, the lore behind the dragons was just so interesting that I was willing to give it a chance. And I've actually read the second book. I have not read any beyond that, though. An ancient, powerful dragon in the modern world wants to stay hidden, doesn't want to let people know the dragons are back yet, but ends up meeting a human who's learning magic. So this is an alternate Earth where magic exists, but magic is dying for some reason, and they need to figure out why is the magic dying. And that's kind of the plot line behind the first book, is why is the magic dying.
It's such a common fucking thread.
A little bit, but again, I liked how it was. There's a scene at the end. I'm not going to say anything about it at all because it's at the end. But there's a scene at the end that I just love really much. It was really done really, really well. And if anything, the first book is worth it just for that scene, honestly. And the second book is worth it because it's about Ambrian, the dragon of death. And I love, he's my favorite out of the 6 of them. And so I read the second book for him. But the third book follows one of the female dragons who, surfs, I think. She's the dragon of water, so she does beach stuff, or maybe it's the dragon. I don't remember. The third book followed one of the dragons I cared less about, so I just didn't see a point to continue it. Next up is Dragon Hack.
Yeah,
from the Blasphemy Online series by Andrew Seipel. I hope I said that correctly.
I actually really liked.
I got Bantam to read this one with me while we were working. We had our audiobooks in sync, and we went through the first book and started the second, but then we fell out of sync because of reasons I can't remember, and just haven't continued since then. But we both did really love the first book. It was
before we did the podcast, wasn't it?
Yes. Oh, so we just got distracted because I had to force you to read other stuff. That's what it was. But yeah, we both loved the first book. It is a lit RPG where the magical world is literally a video game. But when he logs in, he takes over the body of a dragon because his character is a dragon. But then it turns out that the dragon takes over his body because the dragon actually has its own soul, and the soul has to go somewhere when he logs in to take over, which kind of implies that this video game world is actually its own real world as well, and there's some shenanigans and what the fuck is going on happening.
Yeah,
there.
It's not...
I don't think we have that resolved yet. They might touch more on that in the second book that we haven't got to.
It's not a spoiler, but it's one of the funniest things that happened in the book to me was when what's his name, Rrrwwrr, when he realizes that he is now in a human body, and this is in a dystopian or utopian future depending on your point of view. It's
supposed to be dystopian, but you like
I
this
like
kind
this
of
stuff. Full dive VR, but
it is a dystopian future where the church controls everything, including the internet. And,
that would be bad. But at any rate, the main character is this fat, lazy human kid. And so when he logs into the game, the dragon soul gets forced into his human body. And so when the dragon first wakes up in the human body, like, what the fuck? Why am I fat and gross? And God, everything hurts. And he decides he's going to start working out and to get the body that he's stuck in back to a usable level. And so he starts working out to the point where he's in tears. And when the human logs back out, he just logs into a body that's just racked in fucking pain.
He's like, I can't move. It's pretty funny. There is a psychic character that's basically a kobold, but they'd call it something else, but it's basically a kobold. Who is the most adorable thing you've ever seen.
I love him.
There's a scene early on where we're going to call him a kobold, where this kobold is with the newly hatched dragon, who is currently inhabited by the humans, so human and dragon is kind of going on. But, so the kobold is like, oh great master, come, I'll keep you safe, I'm sorry about your mother, we need to escape these adventures and whatever. And then I don't remember where they are, but they're in something, and the baby dragon's stomach growls because he's hungry. And he's like, well, this is interesting. I didn't think this game had like hunger mechanics kind of deal, right? But the kobold hearing this, the dragon's stomach growls is like starts like crying and like lays down. It's like, I will sacrifice myself for you, master. Please grow up and be strong. And he's like, he looks down. It's like, what the fuck? I'm not. What? No, get up.
The one thing that I'll say that I didn't like about the book is that, and to agree with Ray, because Ray didn't like it. It doesn't really feel like there's any stakes. Because at one point when he's a baby dragon, when the main character is in the dragon's body, he's a baby dragon. One of his wings gets broken or something, or one of his legs gets broken. And he's like, oh, that's unfortunate. But he knows he's in a video game, so he just slits his own throat with his claw and then respawns.
I think the kobold sees it and it's kind of hilarious. If I remember correctly.
I don't remember that part. But point being is that he knows he's in a game and he knows he can respawn, so he just kills himself. Because if his body's broken, it would be stupid to try to continue on, so he just kills himself. And Ray was like, that's stupid. I don't like that.
Yeah, they add stakes to the book by having real life be a major part of this book, to where like maybe 30% of the book time is in the real life world. Him talking to like parents, or I can't remember all the people who talk, but he interacts with people in the outside world. But there are real life stakes attached to the story, which is how they kind of get him. Next up is Gork, the Teenage Dragon by Gabe Hudson. This is a sci-fi book that is hyper technology to the point where some of the dragons are full-on synthetic, like they're machines that were built. They are synth dragons. But in this universe, the main character Gork is at a military academy, and he's going to graduate. And the whole goal of their species is he needs to find a mate. They're going to go to a planet. They're going to conquer it, just the two of them, and then have babies and whatever. There's a new planet now under the Dragon Empire. So the entire book is him trying to find a mate. And the writing is so up and down. There are parts that I really liked, and there are other parts that are like, what the heck is going on? And in fact, every time he talks about the female dragon that he wants to mate, he's always like, oh, my queen. It's like complete like simp/incel mentality. It's like hilarious.
Is that the one you told me about where if he didn't do well in the academy, the synth dragon would eat him?
Yes. So the species/academy functions completely on survival of the fittest, in the sense to where every schoolmate has like 4 different stats that are like ranking, and like as you do certain things, one stat goes up and another goes down or whatever. I can't remember what they're called. One of them is called will to power. His will to power stat. I can't remember what the other ones are called, but the point is he's like such a bad classmate or dragon that he's like bottom of the tier list in most of them. And the problem is like if his points go too low, then he like literally just becomes food for one of the high scoring jock dragons or something. It's been a while, so I can't remember the specifics, but yeah, it is an incredibly survival of the fittest type of mentality. The writing falls off a cliff like 80% of the way through. Like, I don't know what happened. It is my hypothesis that he originally wrote this like one chapter at a time as part of like a web series or something, because like something happens in chapter 3 and then chapter 4 like recap it really fast before going on to the next thing. But then like chapter 60 is like 3 paragraphs long, and then chapter 61 is 2 paragraphs long, and then chapter 62 is it's a page and a half, and then chapter 64 is another single paragraph. It got so weird at the end that I think he like ran out of time or motivation or something. I don't know. But yeah, it's a pretty interesting world building, and is like the only example of dragon on a spaceship that I have, I think. But it just falls off a cliff towards the end. It doesn't ruin it. It just makes you feel like, what the heck just happened? Next up is Burn by Patrick Ness. This is an alternate Earth where dragons exist. They live mostly in, I think, Alaska and Russia, and parts of Canada. I can't remember. But there is a cult that worships them. This takes place 1920s, I think, before Sputnik launched, whenever that was.
It launched in the 50s.
Okay.
I will not challenge you on this. I do not.
I'm not going to challenge you. I don't know. It takes place before at that point. The point of view jumps around a bit, mostly between humans though. But there's a dragon there. I'd say overall dragon screen time is like 20%. It's pretty low. It's pretty sad. But again, because it's an alternate Earth, I enjoyed the world building. I enjoy alternate Earths. Probably one of the reasons I like Laser Scale so much is because it takes place in our world, and so it's kind of fun. But yeah, Farm Girl is told in a dragon prophecy that she's going to be a big deal. I can't remember if it's a savior or what's the opposite of a savior? Like she's going to cause everything to go to shit. Whatever. She's in a prophecy for one reason or another, and there's a dragon that's going to come and work for her dad on the farm, clearing trees and debris and helping to plow the fields, in order to keep an eye on her because the dragon cult is sending an assassin to take her out. And just stuff. Without spoiling anything, just stuff happens. It's pretty enjoyable. I liked it. If there was a second book, I would read it. I don't know if there's a second book because it doesn't say book 1 of whatever for a series. But holy shit, it was written by the guy who wrote A Monster Calls? Seriously? Damn. I'm looking at his bibliography to see if there's a second book because it really feels like there should be because of where it leaves off, but I don't know. Patrick Ness Byrne sequel? No, it looks like it's a one and done, which is kind of sad and also really confusing because nothing was really wrapped up when it left off. Oh well. I mean, apparently the book came out in 2019, 2020, so maybe he'll come back to it eventually. Whatever. All right. Sorry, I'm back on track. Well, I would love there to be a sequel. If there was a sequel, I would totally read it. That's how much I enjoyed the first one that much. Next up, Rise of the Dragons, book 1 by Angie Sage. It's part of the Rise of the Dragons book. This is another kid's book, and oh my god, does it feel like a kid's book. There's 2 worlds. One is Earth, and one is this magical land where this evil king is like rounding up dragons, harvesting them or killing them or something bad stuff. But some of the people in the magical world are going to save a dragon, even though the dragons are considered evil or animals, something I can't remember. I didn't really like it that much, so I don't remember all the details. But the point is, in order to have this dragon that they save escape, they end up going into the real world, and that's kind of where things get left off. So the second book is going to be like a dragon in London, I think it is. So some weird things that were happening on. It was a mess. I don't know if I'll ever read the second, but there you go. If you want kids books with dragons, there's one right there. His Majesty's Dragon, the Temeraire series by Naomi Novik. It is 9 beautiful books. They are all great. I love Temeraire. I will admit that like book 6 plus got really, really samey. Like a lot of it felt like really not necessary, but I kind of understand why they existed. This is an alternate history Earth where dragons exist and they are used by the different countries as basically their air force. So Temeraire, quote, belongs. He belongs to the British, and so he's got a captain. And this is during the Napoleonic Wars, so they're fighting the French, and the French have dragons. And then in the second book, they go to China, and China has dragons. And then I don't remember in which book it all happens in, but they eventually go to Africa and they see the African dragons. They go to Australia and see the Australian dragons. They go to they shipwreck in Japan and see the Japanese dragons. They meet an American dragon, and so I understand that a lot of the later books were just so we could see the different cultures, and like that was the whole reason they existed, because the main story, the war, Napoleon and all that, takes a major backseat to what feels like filler. So if we read these books for the podcast, I think I would only make you two read the first 2 books, because those are the only ones that really matter. the one that showed the British dragons and the ones that shows the Chinese dragons, because that's kind of like the only two really big deals.
When you said the American dragon, I was like, Jake Long.
Jake Long. A lot of the series, like the B plot, the A plot is the war. The B plot of the series is Temeraire is a smart dragon. All the other British dragons are kind of dumb for some reason. I can't remember exactly why. I think it's because they just never got taught and they were just raised to be animals and war machines and whatever. But he wants to have his people, the other dragons, be treated better, as like he wants them to be considered citizens and to have rights and to have voting power in parliament and all of that. And so he kind of struggles with that through the whole 9 books. That's the B story. That's worth mentioning because of that reason, book 1 and book 2 focuses a lot on the way dragons are treated, and that's why I think those are the 2 books worth reading for the show, because they feel a lot more dragon focused, while the rest of it is definitely just Temeraire and Lawrence go on, quote, adventures around the world, just doing whatever. In fact, a lot of times Temeraire will complain like, Lawrence, we're supposed to be helping the dragons, and Lawrence is like, yes, after the war, don't worry about it. And then 10 chapters later, Lawrence, what about the dragons? But yeah, pacing problems basically, but overall I enjoyed it. I like the characters and I like alternate Earth settings, so it was pretty good. Next is Skeleton Crew, the first book of the Canty cycle by Greg Ludeman, I guess. There's a 7 in his name. It's GRE7G Ludeman. I don't know why he would sign his book like that. The dragons are called something else in this book. I forget what they're called, but they're basically dragons. Krakoon. They're called Krakoon. He doesn't show up a lot. He's kind of the antagonist of this book, and it follows a little like otter-looking alien thing. So the dragon's there, and he's a bad guy. He has a name and he has dialogue, so there's that at least. But yeah, it's kind of fun. I enjoy the concept, which is they're on a generational ship and they're traveling from one point to the other.
About this one before.
Yeah, the idea being that the Krakoon showed up and basically said, hey, little people, we want to give you medicines and technology and stuff. And they're like, oh, yay, thank you. And they took it. But because they didn't like evolve there on their own, it caused like birth rates to spike up, and then there was famine and war and a bunch of terrible things, which the Krakoon did on purpose, because then when everything was like terrible and shit, they were like, hey, we can fix this too. We just need like 10,000 of you to come on to our ships, and they tricked them into slavery basically. And then they're on this generational ship flying to another planet to repeat the process, because this dragon empire is super powerful and spans all over everywhere, and that's how they conquer planets, is by pretending to be nice and then tricking into slavery.
Based.
Yeah. The Blue Curse series by Brad Magnarella. It is didn't like it. I only read it about halfway and I stopped. The dragons are the enemies. The main character is a Marine or something in the military that ends up becoming a werewolf. He gets cursed with lycanthropy.
Cursed or blessed?
From his point of view, it's cursed. They want to get rid of it. And he's going to use his newfound power before he gets rid of the curse or whatever to kill the dragons that have taken over this. I don't remember exactly. Fuzzy on the details because I didn't like it and I put it down. But yeah, werewolf versus dragons. Dragon, 5% screen time, maybe. And the screen time is all fighting and killing dragons and stuff. So, bleh.
The first thing that popped into my head was that Love, Death robot animation where there's like soldiers in Afghanistan fighting as werewolves.
Oh, yeah.
That's basically that. I don't know if they go to Afghanistan, but it's definitely a desert, one of the desert countries over there. I just remember that the terrain was very hot, dry, and kind of rocky, so like a steppe, but I don't remember where they went exactly. Next up is Pemberley, Mr. Darcy's Dragon, a Pride and Prejudice variation, Jane Austen's Dragons, Book 1. Another example of putting everything in the title to try to help people find your book. It's by Maria Grace. I've never read Pride and Prejudice, but they say this is Pride and Prejudice, but with dragons. So
I mean,
I guess.
oh, never mind. I'm thinking of a different. They when I was younger and I was still in high school, there were a series of books like Pride, Prejudice, and Sea Monsters. Like basically they took classic books that kids don't like reading and they just turned them into something a little bit more fantasy while keeping the main plot and theme of the book the same. And yeah, it's like it made it readable for me. It's like I don't care about political intrigue, but if you add sea monsters, then sure.
Yeah. The gimmick of this series, this universe, this whatever, is that dragons exist in, quote, the real world, but they whisper to everybody. And I don't know if it's literally whispering or like a passive aura that emanates from them, but it's described as whispering to other people. And they're like, I'm not a dragon, I'm a cat. And so people will see a cat there instead.
What?
Yeah. There are very, very few people who can resist the whispers, and so they'll see the dragon for what it is. They'll see the dragon rather than the cat. Or they'll see the dragon instead of a bird, or instead of a dog, or instead of a whatever the dragon is pretending it is. It is a high-class English setting. I don't think it's Victorian. I don't remember the exact setting. But the powerful dragons are the ones that own the estates, and the humans kind of take care of it, and they make sure that anything that they do needs to be okayed by the dragon landowner or whatever. I remember that the dragon wants the main character girl to marry somebody else because he thinks it's a good idea I can't remember the exact details. I kind of liked it. I like that the setting, the high posh setting, whatever you want to call it. The same reason I liked Tooth and Claw. I just like that setting. I haven't read the rest of them. I probably will eventually, but it's pretty down on my priority list. But if you like high society politics, this has that, but with dragons.
We already got that with Tooth and Claw. We saw Bantam's reaction to that. Also, that whisper mechanic, 0 out of 10. That's got to be the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Again, I don't think they're literally whispering. I know they can do it consciously because her dragon friends are using the power to influence other people to kind of go along with like crazy plans and to let her go and do something. So they can consciously use it, but it is also, I think it is also a very passive emanation because it just happens and they don't need to really worry about being spotted as a dragon. So it's both passive and active, I think.
On paper, though, it does seem kind of stupid and overpowered.
Maybe. We'll see. I remember I enjoyed it, but again, I like that setting. Next is Scale Shifter by Shelby Hailstone Law. This is a human is forcibly turned into a dragon against his will. It's very terrible, I know, right? He's very upset by the whole thing.
Is he actually?
Yes, he doesn't want to be a dragon. I know, right?
The thing is that
Skip.
I'm like
Next
trying to imagine even in real life, like anything would be better.
The dragons in this universe, the particular one that he gets turned into, they're used as war machines in some crazy big war going on. I don't remember the details of the war. I think the war is just a looming monster in the background. Like, they're not going to ever deal with the war, but it's there. It's the setting of this war. Because he needs to escape from the mad mage that turned him into the dragon. And then he's got to figure out how to live in the world as a dragon now. He finds another dragon to help take care of him, who is best dragon dad ever. I love it. He is. I don't know if he's better than. Okay, everyone's gonna say that he's better than Last Hope because nobody likes Last Hope because Last Hope was the villain. But I like Last Hope. But this other guy, I can't remember his name, is also just grade A dragon dad. Love him. It's worth mentioning, even though it's slightly spoilery, even though he was forcibly turned into a dragon, he's able to turn back into a human, so we get some shape-shifting stuff going on, which I don't usually like, but this one is against his will, kind of. He has to learn to control it, so that comes into play later, but I feel like it is one of the few examples of being done well that I can deal with it. It's worth mentioning, even though it's spoilery, just because Shapeshifting tends to turn people away from books, so here's your warning, but I feel like it was done okay. Give Scale Shifter a chance. I actually really liked the first book. I have not read the second because, from what I can tell, the second follows a different character, one of his fellow prisoners that was turned into a dragon against their will. And it's just an example of I fell in love with this character. Please don't make me follow this one next. So I haven't given the second book a chance yet.
Yeah.
Next up is the Novice Dragoneer from Dragoneer Academy by E.E. Knight, the guy who wrote Age of Fire. This is his sequel series. I bought it like a year and a half ago, but only just barely read it like a couple weeks ago because just bought it, put it on my shelf, and like I'll get to it eventually. But yeah, this takes place 1,000 years after the events of Age of Fire, so I'm very sad because all the characters I fell in love with are gone. Don't like it. I would have rather just like Age of Fire 2. I would have rather that. That being said, this works in a vacuum. This is a good book by itself if you forget that Age of Fire exists so you don't end up missing the characters. In a vacuum, this is really good. The only point of view is a human, but she goes to live at a fort, I guess, where the Dragoneers train, and so the dragons live there, and she loves dragons. She wants to learn how to become a Dragoneer so she can ride one and see the world, and so there's a lot of interaction with dragons, and so I feel like I can forgive the human point of view because there's dragons everywhere. But yeah, I'm not going to go much more into that because it's kind of hard to talk about it without spoiling stuff because this book feels like a collection of events, which, yes, I know, every book's a collection of events, you silly, that's how books work. But no, like, there's no, like, big major plot thread. It's just, here's a bunch of stuff that happens to her while she's here trying to learn to be a Dragoneer. Like, she keeps getting into trouble, she keeps doing this thing and that, whatever. So it's like, it's kind of slice of life-y, I guess, at that point. I don't know how I would describe it. But it was pretty good. I want Age of Fire 2 instead, but I'll take this. I'll probably read the sequel, Daughter of the Serpentine. I'll read that eventually pretty soon, but I'm in the middle of something else right now. Next up, Master of the Horde from the Dragon Core Chronicles by Lars Macmuller. I love this. 3 books so far on Audible. A 4th book is coming. It is a lit RPG. Human dies and then is reborn as a dragon in this. It's not a video game, but it's a world that uses video game laws and logic. I don't know why. Sometimes they explain why, but I can't remember if they did here. Wakes up as a dragon, is captured by some weird small creature that I just overwrote in my brain. You guys are kobolds now. Deal with it. I think they're supposed to be rat-like instead.
No.
But it's like, nope, fuck
That's
that.
illegal.
They're kobolds.
I blame World of Warcraft for that.
No, it's older than World of Warcraft. So many things are like, yeah, we're gonna make kobolds the ugliest, creepiest little fucking.
The thing is, they're not called kobolds. They're called something else. They're their own species, but just in like you guys are kobolds now. It's just much easier. Sorry. But yeah, this is the book that I talked about last episode when we were talking about hordes, where the horde dictates how strong his domain is. As his horde goes up in level, different tiers from having different amounts of value and mana crystals and stuff inside it, he gets to have more terrain, he gets to build more structures, and he gets to promote more minions. It is Dragon City Builder. He literally builds buildings. He unlocks the ability to build farms at some point. It's like you can magically infuse the ground to increase the growth speed and crop yield of plants in here. If he designates an area as a house, then your minions who rest here will recover hit points faster. It's literally a city builder. And I love it. I love it. It's amazing. Oh, I love it. But yeah, it's great. Next up is Path to Villainy, an NPC Kobold's Tale by S.L. Rowland. I don't know if this is a one and done or if this is a sequel. It doesn't have a book series in its title, but it feels like there should be a sequel. But this is a kobold who is literally an NPC in a video game. His job is to stand outside of a dungeon and to give buffs to the heroes before they go into the dungeon, and they give him like a couple silver coins. He ends up getting murder hoboed several times. They just like, this asshole dwarf just like kills him, just murder, because players be
Yeah.
assholes. And he respawns back at the Warren with no memories because he's an NPC. Something happens that causes him to remember all the times where he was murdered, and he like snaps and like unlocks the ability to become a villain, and now he can gain levels and become stronger, and he's going to become a villain and fuck all the players who were mean to him before, right?
So basically, that movie with Ryan Reynolds where he becomes a sentient NPC.
haven't seen the
Yeah, I'm
movie,
pretty
but I know
sure
what
you
you're
have
talking
seen
about.
the movie, and yeah, it sounds like that plot. It's where Ryan.
Oh! I'm thinking of something else. I'm thinking of for some reason I was thinking of the movie where the guy is like on death row, but then he gets controlled by a kid playing a game, and if he wins, he gets to go
the
free.
gamer, the one with
Yeah.
Gerard Butler. Holy shit, that movie was so fucking dumb, but it was entertaining.
Yeah.
Dumb.
No, that's what I thought he was talking about. But no. What you're actually talking about, I have seen. I can't remember what it's called.
Free man, free person, free something.
Free Guy?
Free Guy. Yep, that's
Maybe.
what it was called.
But yeah. Basically, that concept, NPC becomes sentient and self-aware, but he ends up descending down the path of villainy. There's a dragon that shows up at the very, very end, where he like allies with it or something, or like he unlocks it. Like he reaches like infamy level 3, which allows him to get a domain, and so the game spawns a dragon for him to start working with or something. I don't remember the details of the dragon showing up at the end, but that's why it feels like there should be a sequel, because of where it leaves off. But I don't think there's a sequel out there yet, at least not that I can see. All right, next up, the Scales and Spells series by A.J. Sherwood and Jocelyn Drake. This is another erotic novel series. There is a lot of gay sex. Well, not a lot. There's some gay sex. There's some. Sometimes it definitely, like, I've read the first 4 books. There's a 5th one that I haven't read yet, and I never will probably. There are a couple times where it feels like it was forced, like the author's like, oh, if we don't put sex at this point, people are going to get upset because it's supposed to be an erotic book, so, sex scene, right? This is a human and dragon shifter romance. Boo, shifter, boo. That's my biggest, like,
Skip.
gripe against it. Holy shit, boo. The dragons are, it's in Earth, dragons used to exist. There was a big war between dragons and mages. Almost all the mage lineages are wiped out. Most of the dragons are wiped out, and the remaining ones are in hiding because they don't want to repeat what happened. However, the dragons need to find mage partners because dragons can't reproduce with dragons. Dragons can only reproduce with mages. I don't know why. That's just what they went with. Contrived reason to set up the romance. Let's go. But yeah, the worst part about this is the fact that they are dragon shifters means they're inhuman 99% of the time.
Yeah.
Nope.
The
fuck
only
that.
time in the first book, the only time the main dragon character goes into his dragon form is for the fight at the very end. That's the only time. It's for the fight.
So at that point, why even do it?
Why even be dragons at that point, right? There's another character who I fell in love with. I loved him, who is a dragon a bit more often. I'd say he's a dragon 5% of the time. Shenanigans ensue because he not tricks, but he convinces the human to, like, let's play this game where you jump off a cliff and I catch you before you fall to the floor, right? Which gets the dragon who is dating this human very, very upset, but it's hilarious. But yeah, that honestly, I gave it 2 out of 5 stars in my review because how dare you have dragon shifters being shifted into humans? There's no point. And the fact that it's 99% human time is like, why even bother? The only reason I continued on with the series to books 2, 3, and 4 is because I enjoyed their magic system. The magic system is very alchemy based, where if you want to craft a spell, you have to get distilled moonlight, untouched snow, and like mountain spring dew or something, and combine that while doing other stuff, and then that's how you can cast your spell, right? I enjoyed that, And so the world building around that was really interesting, and I liked how all that functioned, but like the dragon stuff was just so lacking, and I hated it. And ugh, so many missed chances. All right, next up is I went on an erotic book kick here because here's another erotic series. All right, this one's called I Married a Naga.
Yeah.
It's apparently book 2 from the Prime Mating Agency, which means I accidentally skipped book 1. Oh, no, never mind. I remember now. Okay. So this book series is like I married a Naga, I married a Minotaur, I married a merman, I married a lizard
Obviously
man.
doing a Minotaur.
Yeah. So that was the series, and that's why I did book 2, because book 2 was the Naga, and I like snakes, like I said, so I read that one. Pretty good. The storyline is the planet that has the Nagas also have some animals that have very unique qualities to where the Federation wants to hunt and harvest them for science and medicine. But to be respectful of the people who actually own the planet, they're going to follow the rules. They're only going to do it during this great hunt time because this particular species they want ends up exploding in population and it's going to wreak havoc on the ecosystem unless we keep the numbers in check, hence the hunt. The girl character not accidentally, she breaks the rules on purpose because she does so to protect some of the native women and children who are going to get attacked by the creatures. But as a show of force, I don't know if that's the right term, in order to make sure nobody else thinks they can break the rules, they have to punish her, right? And so to get out of it, she ends up marrying the tribe's greatest warrior, because if she marries him, then she's an honorary tribe member. Therefore, she's allowed to do what she did. She didn't break any rules at that point, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's a forced marriage of convenience, and the book follows along with those two falling in love with each other over time eventually. And it's pretty good. I enjoyed it. It was all right. I don't know if I'll read the other ones because I like snakes the best, but it was pretty good. Next series is another erotic series. It's the Naga Brides series. More snakes, more snake romance. This is like 6 books long. I only read the first one, and I'm not going to continue it as much as I love snakes, because this one, the writing style was actually pretty. It's post-apocalyptic. The Nagas want to take human females because we horny and we want female. The Nagas have devolved to the point of being borderline monstrous and savage. They're still intelligent enough to talk, but they're definitely like the author Naomi Lucas definitely went with the whole monstrous trope, to the point where actually there's some scenes in the book that are very rapey and were not very well done at all. Like, the Naga kidnaps the main character, human female, and she, of course, doesn't want to be there. She doesn't want to be kidnapped. She was actually sold to the Nagas by the Human Federation because they wanted to trade her and another girl for ancient lost technology, which the Nagas had because the Nagas own all the ruins and stuff because it's post-apocalyptic. And so she was sold, but she keeps trying to escape. And in fact, there's only 2 females while there's 6 Naga. And so they decide, all right, we're going to decide who gets to have them by whoever can catch them. So release them into the woods, let them run and scream and try to hide, and whichever one of us can catch them gets to keep them. And then there's another scene where she's hiding. She's in like a broken down car because post-apocalypse. She's in a broken down car, and the Naga like starts jerking off in front of her in like a "look what I'm going to do to you" kind of way, and it is disgusting. It's disgustingly rapey, and I hated it. But then she ends up falling for him, like kind of through Stockholm, kind of through if I'm going to be here, I might as well like give into it anyway because my people sold me. So it's like can't do anything about it. And then there's also like a chemical component, like his musk makes her like aroused or something like that. It was stupid. Next book is The Dragon's Bride. It's the first book in the Deal with the Demon series. Yes, this is an erotic book again. This one's actually with the dragon, though. Big dragon guy. It's Beauty and the Beast, but with a dragon. The girl character in this signs a contract with the devil where the devil will kill her abusive boyfriend. I don't remember if the deal was to kill him or just to get her away from him because he was a piece of shit abusive, like, beat your girlfriend, and if you ever leave me, I'll track you down and kill you level of abusive, right? So to get out of that, she signs a deal with the devil, a demon, and part of the deal is you're going to become the bride to this monster. And I say monster because there is a total of, I think, 5 girls who signed similar deals, and they all get married off to a different monster. She gets the dragon, someone else gets a kraken, someone else gets a succubus, and someone else gets a gargoyle. And then the demon keeps the 5th one for himself. So she's forced to marry, but there's a stipulation in the contract that says after, I think, 2 years, she can decide to leave and go home if she wants to. She doesn't have to stay. The contract's only for 2 years. And he cannot hurt her, and she cannot be forced to do anything she does not want to do. But the hope is that during the 2 years, the dragon can win her over, and they can have a kid together. Because the monsters in this universe need to have children with the humans in order to, like, reinvigorate their bloodline with magic or something. I can't remember the details, but that's the setup. It's pretty good. I liked it. It's Beauty and the Beast with the dragon. It's great. Next up is Tooth and Paw, a lit RPG fantasy adventure. The Fate and Freedom Online Book 1 series by D.M. Gilmore, our Lazy Scales buddy. He wrote a lit RPG where the main character gets locked into the video game dot hack or Sword Art Online style. He cannot log out, and he is an NPC kobold. Not kobold, sorry, an NPC gnoll. He's a gnoll. Gnolls are good boys. I love gnolls. And so the idea is some of his co-workers are planning a death game where they're going to release a virus into the game file that'll keep people from logging out. They're going to be trapped in the game, and that's going to cause the company's stock to plummet. And then when it plummets low enough, they're going to buy it all out and then release the patch to finish it, to fix it so that everyone can log out again, and they now own the company for like pennies on the dollar, right? That's their evil plan. But some people might actually die during the death game. Oh well, whatever.
That's a risk I'm willing to take.
Basically, some of you may die. Main character overhears the plan. In order to keep him silent, they lock him into the game first. So he wants to stop the death game, obviously, because he's a good person. But in order to get to the point where he can interact with the GMs or send a ticket, he can't send trouble tickets because he's flagged as an NPC. So in order to actually warn anybody about this, he needs to rise to the point of becoming a monster lord. So he's got to rise from like a lowly level 5 trash mob to a world boss. Because if he becomes a world boss, he gains access to the GM console commands, and he'll be able to either forcibly log out or send a ticket or something to warn people about the death game. So it's him going on his adventures as a low-level gnoll, trying to rise up the ranks, which involves the first step is becoming the leader of the gnoll tribe. It's pretty good. I liked it. D.M. Gilmore has definitely grown as a writer. He's made less mistakes than he did during the first Lazy Scales book. And yeah, good boy Knowles.
Good boy.
Virtual Horizon, Thousand Tales Book 1 by Chris Schnee. I will probably not continue the series just because it jumps around a lot. But the first book, this one here, is great. It's A+, loved it. It is a modern day setting. People have developed full dive VR games.
Yes.
And they have also developed an AI to run them, in the sense that when you make a character on this game, you can do whatever you want, whatever makes you happy. The AI's entire goal is to make sure you have fun and you're happy. So if you want to be a pirate, boom, the game is now a pirate game for you. There's a server, in the sense you log in so you can connect to the AI, but the game is single player if you want it to be single player. So you can have your own unique personal world. You can be a pirate, you can be a vampire, you can be a magician, you can be in space with guns and spaceships, whatever you want. The reason I like this book so much is because the AI wants to get people to permanently upload themselves to the game, which means you're dead in real life because your brain now exists in the game. and the book touches on a whole lot of the morals and ethics surrounding that. Because people are like, this AI is evil, it wants us to kill ourselves. Other people are like, well, no, it wants to give us paradise because we can do whatever we want in the game and we'll be able to live forever. And then other people are like, well, if we abandon this world for the game because the game is perfect, then our world is going to go to shit and we should stay behind and take care of our world. And it's a lot of back and forth between him and his best friend because they're on opposite sides of this. He decides to upload at some point, and she's against it because she's like, no, we need to take care of our world. What are you doing, abandoning our world like this? And a lot of moral quandary, and I actually enjoyed the ethical discussion that the book had surrounding permanent upload.
And just as a little question, Dilatan, what would you pick? If you had the option to essentially kill yourself, but your brain and soul would be uploaded into a video game where you could live out your everything.
Part of the problem is they don't know if the soul transfers. They don't know if that counts. The fact that the best friend, the main character now exists in the game, that's great, but is it actually him or is it just a copy of him?
Oh, that's stupid. Fuck that. No, I'm still going in.
But yeah, point is, there's a lot of the ethical discussion, and I enjoyed that. It made me feel big brain reading it, honestly. But yeah, whether you guys pick this one or not, I will eventually get you to read this one because I would be interested to see your guys' reaction to the moral quandaries within.
Yeah. I mean, I know for a fact that I would...
I know you're all about the upload.
Yeah, I'm all about the upload.
But yeah. Next up is High Fire, a novel. High Fire, a novel. By Ian Colfer. This takes place in, I believe it's Louisiana. Because they're Cajun rednecks everywhere. The dragon is, as far as he knows, the last dragon alive. He lives in the swamp. He's got to stay hidden because humans have wiped out dragons because they kill everything that they don't understand. Obviously. And the story revolves around a little boy who discovers the dragon and ends up putting a business partnership with him. Like, hey, I'll bring you stuff from town if you let me live and whatnot. Like, that's the general gist of it. There's also a corrupt sheriff that wants to kill the boy because he thinks the boy actually saw him kill somebody else because he's corrupt, and he's like, well, gotta bury the evidence, so gotta get this kid now too.
It sounds like Pete's Dragon with extra steps.
Yeah. I enjoyed it for the most part. I enjoyed the interaction between the dragon and the kid. I did not like the sheriff character, but he was so well written that I hated him. Like, that's how good it was. He's such a piece of shit, and he was written so well that it made me angry, and I hated him. And every time he got away with something, I was like, you motherfucker. But pretty good. Make Dilettante read it eventually because redneck South. He'll love it.
That's the reason?
That's the reason.
I live that every day. Why would I want to read it?
You'll have such good insights.
Not really. There's not much insight about down here in the sticks. It's a very simple life.
Next up is Talon from the Talon Saga. I've read the first 2 books, and I will probably not continue it. This is another dragon shifter book where the dragon spends majority of their time in human form. Granted, it makes sense in this case because this is a dragon. It's got to stay secret. Some humans know about the dragons because they're enthralled. They're in their service. They're like, you now work for us, and if you leave, you die, kind of scenario, right? The dragons, they basically own the mafia. They own they own most of the criminal organizations all around the world. They own a lot of the major corporations. They're very, very politically powerful creatures, but they are still secretive and they're hiding. Then there's an order of knights that call themselves the Order of St. George. I say knights, but they still use guns and tactical gear and all that are hunting them down to wipe them out, but they're also trying to keep everything secret because they don't want the general public to panic. So there's a lot of dragon versus knight. I'm just keep calling them knight. Dragon versus soldier going on. And the main character is a girl, a kid dragon who needs to learn to blend in with human society. So she's spending a summer in California as a human to learn how to blend in. While she's doing that, she's going to be training, and if she passes her training, she gets to become a very powerful member of this dragon society called Talon. The dragon group is called Talon. But everything goes to hell when she ends up falling in love with a mysterious boy who showed up recently, who happens to be one of the Knights of St. George, who is here on a tip that there are dragons hiding out and he needs to find them. And so we've got a whole enemies to lovers thing going on. So it makes sense that they're human form because the whole point is learning to blend in. But I have to dock at points for there are a couple scenes where it makes sense for them to be a dragon. And I'd say overall dragon time is maybe 15%, so a decent chunk considering the setting. But there was a couple of points where she was a dragon and she was talking or doing something, and then she shifts back to human form for no reason, just to continue the talk. When it's like, you might as well just stay the dragon for this. So it felt like forcibly putting them into human body because you're not allowed to fall in love with the dragon unless they're in human body or something. I don't know.
How dare you fall in love with a dragon? It's got to be a human.
Yeah. I remember this is one of the very few times I actually wrote out a review and left it on the website. That's how mad I was about some of the stuff. In the review I equated it to Twilight. It's Twilight but with dragons, because the dragon is falling in love with both a Knight of St. George as well as a rogue dragon, a dragon who has left Talon. So, vampire werewolf kind of scenario. And she's obviously going to pick the dragon. She's going to pick the St. George Knight. It's kind of very obvious. She's going to pick the wrong choice, just like in Twilight. The end of book 2, one of the characters leaves, quote, forever. Well, I don't know if it's going to be. I'm not going to continue on to book 3 to see if it is forever. But it's just, I didn't like the way the book was going. It's like, I have to leave. It was so tropey. A lot of the world building in this book was really great, but a lot of its tropes was so eye-rolly. Next is A Natural History of Dragons, a memoir by Lady Trent, written by Marie Brennan. This one is not very dragon-heavy. It is written in the style of an autobiography about a woman in 19th century England. So before women had rights, they just got married to rich people and watched the house, right? Mm-hmm. But she wants to become a scholar and go on expeditions to learn about dragons. And so it kind of deals with her struggle on that. The dragons are basically replacement for some wild animals. They have no intelligence, and so they don't make any appearance as characters. They're just there as creatures. So it's pretty low on the tier list of, dragon-centric, but they are important to the story because the whole point is she's on an expedition to learn about them and write a book about them. I enjoyed it, again, just because I like the 19th century England kind of setting. I like that. I love the way they talk. I love their culture. I love all of that. But most people probably wouldn't, because dragons are not a big deal, and it's just women on safari with other high-ranking English gentlemen, whatever. Next is A Dream of Wings and Flame by Kale Plumman. This is the kobold who believes he is a dragon and wants to turn into a dragon. It is a lit RPG, but it's one of those ones where the world just kind of follows RPG rules. It is not a game. It is not an isekai. It's not anything like that. So kobolds are said to be descended from dragons, so they have the blood of dragons within them, but it's extremely diluted. But if he consumes the blood of other dragon-born creatures, such as drakehounds or lizardmen, even dragonkin, drakes and wyverns and whatnot, if he can move up the ladder, and if he gets enough, he'll unlock bloodline powers, and if he gets enough of those, he'll actually ascend and evolve into a higher being. And his whole goal is to become a dragon because he knows that inside he is a dragon. He is just trapped in the wrong body. It is so obviously otherkin related that you can't even hide it. There are times where he looks in the mirror and he's like, one day I will be able to see a reflection that I can feel comfortable in. I don't belong in this body. There's a whole lot of that.
Yeah, that is otherkin.
But I loved it. It was great. When the sequels come out, I will 100% read them because it was great. I loved it. And that is all of my audiobooks. I just finished that kobold one like last week. I'm currently reading another lit RPG where the person turns into an axolotl newt kobold kind of deal. But I'm only a couple hours into that, so I don't really know where it's going yet. I'm trying to open Kindle really fast to see if there's any print-only books I should touch on real fast.
No prints. No, none of that. Audios only. Disgusting.
Alright, on Kindle. Alright. So this is an erotic book. Okay? So don't laugh at the title. But it's by Anne Somerville, and it's called I Was an Alien Cat Toy. Human crash lands on an alien planet with giant kitty people. They take him, keep him as like a pet, and he ends up learning their language and kind of falls in love with one eventually over time. I enjoyed it because at the beginning there was a language barrier, and I love language barriers. There's also a language barrier in Pike, the human Omega stuff we talked about before. He eventually learns their language, but just language barrier stuff, love it.
So cat takes human as a pet. Human learns cat language. They both fall in love.
Yes.
Sounds like zoophilia, but okay.
Well, cat alien, so like bipedal, lives in villages, has
Passes the Harkness
tools.
test.
Yeah.
All right, as long as they pass the Harkness test, fine.
There is one rape scene early on, so if that makes you queasy, then but at least it wasn't shown so much as inferred. I think, if I remember correctly, this was something I read like 6 years ago. I read this before I got into audiobooks, so I can't remember exactly, but yeah. I've bought a couple other ones I haven't even touched yet. One's called Ian's Choice. It's a werewolf in heat book. And then another one's called The Nourisher, which involves it's supposed to be an erotic romance between a human and a giant spider, I think. I haven't read it yet though, so I don't know. It's just kind of sitting in my collection. There's a book here called Dragon Treasure that I only read halfway and then stopped. I couldn't do it because the writing was actually abysmal. It is definitely somebody's fan fiction they wrote for themselves, because the main character is such a Mary Sue, and the dragon that falls in love with her. She doesn't fall in love with it, at least not so far. It falls in love with her, and it's just such a like, I can't control myself level of simp that it's disgusting, because it's like her personal fan fiction. But yeah, technically a human dragon romance where the dragon does not shapeshift at all. But I didn't finish it at all. Then Mating Flight and the sequel I have in print form, Feathers of Gold by Rowan Silver, which we did an episode on. I have that. I have started reading Scales and Honor, the Dragon's Paladin, which so far I'm not liking, but I'm going to try to force myself through it. I think I'm only 10% of the way in. The writing style is also abysmal. There's a couple of grammatical mistakes, like he needs to do another editing pass before releasing it. And I'm so sorry if like he ever like gets a hold of this somehow, or like surprise turns out the author is somebody in one of my Discord channels. Who knows, right? It feels like it was written by a high school kid. Like I don't know how to explain it any more than that. It's just the writing style is just not that great. But I want to see where it goes because the dragon hasn't showed up yet. And yeah, that's all I have on my Kindle that has not at some point gotten an audiobook and so has made the migration over. So that's it. That's all the things that I have read in the last 5 years.
There's so many.
Which one was your favorite, Dilatan?
Three-way tie between Dragon Hack, the one where the guy turns into a gecko, and Gears are turning. I'm trying to remember. Fuck. The one with the... Okay, now I'm just going to keep those two. I already forgot the third one.
Bantam?
Yes.
What about you? What's your favorite?
I mean, Dragon Hack would kind of be on the top of my list, followed by the Kobold one. But Dragon Hack would also be kind of cheating because I already read the first one. So I mean, I'd reread it.
It's like I'd make you pick a different one just to not be cheating, just like out of curiosity. But I guess you said the kobold one interested you, so you kind of already answered that then.
I would say my number one pick would be, probably the kobold one.
Thanks for sitting here with me. 2 hours of Ray talking to himself, basically.
I mean, we were here.
It was a very low energy episode because when I'm trying to remember stuff, I understand I get kind of monotonous like this and just start talking slower because I'm trying to remember. Like, I understand that happens, and I'm sorry about that. I hope I didn't put anyone to sleep while listening to this. But, I did my best. Hopefully we eventually do all these on the podcast, like for real, but it's going to be a long time coming for that. If you have any dragon books you'd like me to read, even if I can't get these two to read them, I can read them, and then you and I can talk to each other in private or on Discord or whatever. Let me know. Bantam, how can they let us know?
All right. Well, they can let us know on Twitter, which I don't know the handle because I deleted my Twitter account because of what's going on. It's not why, but you can also email the show. Our email is wadpodcastmail@gmail.com. We do have a Discord, which will be linked in the show notes. And we do have a Patreon at World of Dragons Podcast.
Dilettante, do you remember what the Twitter was?
At official WADpod, I do believe. Let me double check.
Sounds familiar.
Here. Yes, at official WADpod.
All right. I look forward to hearing your guys' opinions on some of the stuff that I reviewed. Maybe you don't agree with me saying that something was bad and you want to defend it. I would love to have that discussion with you because I can't have it with these two. If you have something you would like me to read in my spare time, then please let me know as well. Other than that, I guess we're pretty much done. This went on a bit long, but hey, special episode. We will be returning to our regularly scheduled programming starting next time. Speaking of next time, do you guys want to do Bantam? Do you think we should do World of Warcraft, or should we give ourselves more time for like raids and stuff to come out to wrap up the storyline, and we should do something else?
If the storyline changes drastically, we can do a follow up. But I think we should just do the World of Warcraft episode.
All right. So in 2 weeks from this episode's release, the next episode we're doing will be the World of Warcraft, specifically for the Dragonflight expansion.
We could probably
we can touch on some of the old lore if you and I just dig around in Wikipedias and stuff for some of the old characters, but it's going to primarily be focusing on the new expansion.
Yeah. We could probably also ask Soren if he wants to join in, considering he played most of it with us.
He's introverted as hell. I don't think he's going to be able to talk on the podcast.
I mean, he...
Also, if he falls asleep during D&D, I don't be awake for this.
That was so funny.
Yeah. Also, I don't know if he was skipping the story or not.
If we're what?
If he was skipping the story or not.
Oh, that's true. All right, so
we can find out.
We'll just tag team Dilettante.
We'll push the lesson back and forth between us.
Yeah.
Like we'll bully him. All right, but yeah. Thank you for joining. I hope some of the things that I went over interested you, and so you can discover a new literary work that you would like to fall in love with. But until next time, goodbye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.